This is not who you've been. This is not how you see yourself. This is not who your friends and family are used to showing up. There's all this emotional stuff with it because it's that important and feels like that much of a big shift. And it's really difficult to navigate that on your own.
Welcome to the Women Inspired podcast, where together we explore ways to live our most joyful, aligned, vibrant lives. On this podcast, we draw inspiration from the lessons embedded in other women's stories, and we use them to catalyze our own growth and success. And we explore concepts and techniques from the fields of psychology and design thinking that can help us thrive and make the most of the one and only life we're ever going to have. My name is April Seifert. I'm a psychologist, an entrepreneur, and a self-proclaimed life experience junkie, and I'm your host and friend along this journey. This podcast is supported by Modern Well, a woman-centered co-opportunity workspace in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Friend, it is time to start living vibrantly, by design, and with intention. Here we go. Welcome back to the Women Inspired podcast. My name is April Seifert, and I'm your host. And today, my friends, I am going to invite you during this interview to flirt with some ideas that might make your life look and feel different than it is today. I want you to flirt with the notion that your job and your work and what you do for money could be very different than it is today. I'm not asking you to make any major changes right now. I'm just asking you to flirt with some ideas about how it might be different. Cheat on your day job, so to speak, with maybe a little emotional affair with what your dream business or your dream passion project could look like. I want you to do that on today's interview as you meet this week's amazing guest, Michelle Ward. Michelle is a business coach, but what's really interesting about her is she focuses on creative women. That's such an interesting niche because this creative outlet, I've talked about it on a number of episodes. I think it's something that's inside all of us. And I was excited to talk to Michelle because of this unique perspective that she has. To give you a little background on her, Michelle's been offering dream business guidance for women in the creative space since 2008. She calls herself the When I Grow Up coach, which I absolutely adore because dang it, we all have that inner child that's still there. She has been featured in New York Magazine, The Huffington Post, Etsy, Newsweek, Freelancers Union, USA Today. She's been on the Forbes Top 100 websites for your career list and 150 or more other media outlets. This woman is a powerhouse. She's also the co-author of The Declaration of You and also the teacher of Create Your Dream Career and Ditch Your Day Job, which has been watched by thousands of people on Creative Live. This woman knows her stuff, and I'm so excited about the conversation we had because it really veered into such an interesting place that I think people don't see it coming when they decide to pursue a passion project. And more often than not, it is this concept of identity. People don't see it coming, but this concept of identity that causes people to stall out or not even start or give up on something that is truly their soul's calling. So we get into this really great conversation about identity and the identity shift that has to happen in order for you to step into a role that's new and different from where you've been. And Michelle gives some incredibly practical, amazing advice about how you can start to make that shift for yourself, even if you don't want to leave your day job. You might not even be in a position where you want to quit your 9-to-5, but maybe you just want to try something new. Maybe you have something in you that's telling you that you want to do something different than what you've done before. This is why I'm talking about, I want you to flirt with some new ideas. I want you to cheat on your current life, not like romantically, but like cheat on your current life. I want you to dream up what it might look like and just follow us down this rabbit hole during this interview because I think you're going to find incredible value in what Michelle has to share. All right, you guys, I can't wait for you to meet her. Let's roll that interview. Michelle, I'm so excited that you're here to join us for this episode of the podcast. I'm so pumped.
Thank you, April. Me too. I'm so happy to be here.
All right. So tell us a little bit about you because I'm really, really excited about the work that you do. And I mean, excited about that work, but also excited about the journey that you've taken to get to the work that you're doing. So tell us a bit about you.
Oh, for sure. Well, I'm known happily far and wide as the When I Grow Up coach. I've been the When I Grow Up coach since 2008, but I've been doing this work a full time, a little over 9 years, which I'm still pinching myself about. I cannot believe of all the silly things I get to be the When I Grow Up coach for so long. And I found my way here because I essentially became the person that I needed in my life. I started out as a musical theater performer, and ever since I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I was one of those, annoying kids when you ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? I had the answer, starting that young, and the answer never changed. And it was always to be on Broadway and was always to be a musical theater performer. And that's just what I live for. And that's what I worked for. I went to NYU. I went to Tisch School of the Arts. I got my BFA in musical theater. I worked on a cruise ship. I worked regionally. I worked, as an extra on Saturday Night Live. I did like the glamorous and not so glamorous things, more not so glamorous things. And it was, my like mid to late 20s that I finally came to terms with the fact that while I still loved performing, I abhorred the business of show business, and I didn't want to make it my career anymore. And I think because I was pursuing something that was my like one true love, my one big passion, it was really unacceptable for me to just like go find a job. And I think it's so hard because society, especially here in America, is all about this work culture. And thankfully it's changing, I feel like. But my parents' generation, the older generation, even my generation, it's about, you just find a job that pays well and you could climb the ladder and you get your benefits and you could provide for your family. And it's not about liking your work or not liking your work. My father would come home from work every day and we'd say to him, "How was work today?" And he would almost always say, "Well, work is called work because it's not play, but I guess I have to go back tomorrow so that we could eat." And I guess I just rebelled against all of that. And when I would say in my mid to late 20s, when I finally said, this isn't what I want to pursue anymore, I would say to people very seriously, "I don't know what I want to be when I grow up." And they would laugh. And I would be like, "Ha ha ha, yes, okay, great, very funny." But also, "Oh my God, this is my life and my identity, and I'm having a crisis." And I tried to find the career coach or the career counselor who worked with and really understood creative people. Because it's very, very different, I feel like, to work with a career counselor who has worked with dancers and artists and painters and actors and whatever, than one who hasn't, who works with people on a more, traditional job search or career search. And because it wasn't acceptable for me to just find something that just pays the bills, and that's what I'll do for the next 40 years, I couldn't find that person. And so I realized sooner rather than later that I wouldn't be happy unless I was an entrepreneur. That was kind of my first realization, which I was not happy about. That was not the grown up, quote unquote, job I was looking for. And I knew that was the hard road. And I was kind of sick and tired of taking the hard road. But I realized that I wasn't going to be happy working for anyone else. And once I had that realization, then I came to the realization that thinking of being the career coach for creative people made me really excited. And I wasn't as optimistic back then as I am now. But I felt optimistic that, okay, maybe I wasn't going to love it as much as I love performing, but it was going to be fulfilling for me and it was going to fit in with the skill set that I really like using and that I pride myself on. And it checked off a lot of the boxes. So even though I knew it was going to be a really hard road, that's really the role that I went into back in 2008 when I started my business and I started my life coaching training. And now over a decade later, things have evolved a bit. And now I could say that I work specifically with highly creative, super smart, multi-passionate women who want to discover, launch, and build their dream business. And it's just been, this business has been a gift to me each and every day.
There was a statement that you made that was so poignant and I don't want it to get lost. And so I want to call it out. You said, "I became the person that I needed." And here's what's really amazing about that statement to me. So many of us, let's round up and say like everyone. We'll say everyone. Sure, there's some people out there who way have it together. High five, good for you. Most of us don't. Most of us go through that point where we feel stuck / lost / unfulfilled / misaligned, whatever those are. We have that yuck friction feeling. Yeah. And so many times, and I actually do some speaking about this, so many times we are told to look outside ourselves. And there's merit in that, right? There is merit in finding someone who can guide you. There's merit in finding someone who has gone before you to learn from. But where I think we fall short is when we stop there and we don't give ourselves the credit that we are capable, intelligent people, and we have wisdom inside of us and ability inside of us that we get to tap into as well. And so for you, I'm sure you sought out the advice and the counsel of other people. Certainly, we all do that. But I love that you looked at it and you were like, this is the type of person that I need. And you had the audacity to say, you know what? I'm just going to go be that person because that's not common.
Preach it, April. Preach it so hard. And it's not to say that there weren't so many big, loud, scary, what I like to call vampire voices that are there to just suck all the good stuff out of you. Some people call them inner critics or gremlins or whatever. That I wasn't immune to that. And I wasn't just like, oh yeah, okay, well here I am, creative people. I'm here to fix your life and get you in the career you love. And I know exactly what I'm doing. Like it did not feel that way at all. But I just had this conversation with a client yesterday where she knows I'm working with her on really clarifying what her dream business is going to look like. And we're working towards the launch piece of her business in about a month or so. And she knows that her first offer is going to be something that she could do and she could 100% deliver on tomorrow, but she doesn't have any professional credentials and she hasn't done this exact thing even for herself yet. And like, oh, but can she even offer it? And who is she to do it? And now should she go back to school? And, unless someone I'm working with wants to be an accountant or a dentist or a lawyer or something that you need those credentials in order to do that work, 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. You don't need any of that. You just need to be at least one step ahead of the person that you are helping. You do not need to be the world's foremost expert in order to get started, right? Because that's such a big chicken and the egg. You can't become the world's foremost expert until you start doing the work. So you could be in school for 10 years, and if you're not actively doing the work, can't be the world's foremost expert. And I feel like it's such a big procrastination tool. And it's interesting too, because even, I forget where I read this, but in traditional jobs, and I don't want to gender stereotype, but let's just do it. Women will look at a job description of a job they want and talk themselves out of it because maybe there's like 2 bullet points that don't apply to them. But men will look at that same job description and see that 5 bullet points don't apply to them, and they'll apply for it anyway because, like, why shouldn't they get that job? And they deserve it, and they own it. And women won't do that. They'll say, oh, no, well, they're not looking for me. I shouldn't apply because those 2 bullet points don't apply to me. So I think that whether it's a traditional path or, being a business owner, we really talk ourselves out of it for a variety of reasons and keep telling ourselves why we're unqualified when it's all just bull honky, honestly, for the most part.
I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. And not only that, but I think that notion that you do not need a degree or a certificate or someone else to knight you as worthy or capable or whatever. And that's becoming more and more common because our economy and technology and just the business landscape is evolving faster than college can keep up with. So name, like, if you think about who has been leading something like social media marketing. Let's use that because there's social media is everywhere and it's super pervasive, right? There are so few programs still that exist to actually make you a certified social media marketer.
Right.
It's not a thing. And this is like a huge need out in the, business landscape today, but there's no training programs for it. Similarly, my day job, I work in data science. There were no college programs for that until very recently. How do you think the field evolved?
Right.
Like every new field, every budding field, they evolve and they grow from people who just had the audacity to start Googling something one day, right? Like, this can't be that hard. I've got to be able to figure it out, right? Give yourself some credit and go Google some stuff,
Well, and here's the thing. What I have learned firsthand and through my clients over the last decade plus of doing this work is that the clients and the customers don't care. So again, if you want to be a dentist, if you want to be an accountant, if you want to be a lawyer, like, yes, then they care. You need to go to school and learn all those things. But in all of my consultation calls that I've ever had, I could remember one person who said, can you tell me about your life coaching certification and what you had to do in that program, and wanted to like vet those credentials. Everyone else hires me because they see that hopefully on my website that I'm the real deal. I have a ton of testimonials. They're social proof. They jive with who I am personally and what I have to offer. They go to my website and they don't think like, oh my gosh, this woman uses too many exclamation points and there's the word amazeballs over here and like, like those people that don't jive with it, go someplace else. Great. Go find someone else that is going to help you and speak your language. So they're on board with my energy and my personality, and they like my story, and they know that I could deliver the results that they want. And that I'm going to give them the guidance that they're seeking. That's why they hire me. It's not, for me, my certification felt like a very important first step because I had no life coaching skills at all. And I would not know what I was doing otherwise. But I have clients who are counselors or who are social workers or, and they'll want to use the word coach and they'll say, well, shouldn't I go back to school, Michelle? And blah, 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 blah. And shouldn't I get the certification? And I'm like, I know you're already coaching and I know you know what coaching is. And maybe you want a little mini program. Maybe you want a weekend course to just get particulars, but like, I don't think you need it. Do you think you need it in order to actually be a coach and work with people in that way? And they go, yeah, no, I guess you're right. So as long as someone feels safe with you and feels that they jive with your personality, that you're going to deliver the results, that's what they care about. And that's why they're hiring you.
Totally. And actually, I think that extends even beyond just, and I really want to hear your opinion on this because of the niche that you're in, working with creative people, I think that fear of not being quote unquote qualified or there being a mismatch between whatever it is we think we want to do and our own identity, whenever it's a situation where, oh, people like me don't do things like that, whenever that comes up, it could be something as simple as a hobby. So again, let's put this in the context of a creative field. You might be an accountant. There might be an accountant who's listening to this that I was trying to think of like, what is the opposite of sitting and doing extremely creative things all day long? No offense to accountants. I do data science. I'm like right in your world with you. But like when I think about that, that's very different than some of the video editing stuff that I do and some of the writing that I do and creating speaking experiences and that type of thing. But let me tell you, the identity crisis I went through when I first started thinking that I wanted to do this work, I was like, and I wasn't even asking for anybody to pay me yet. All I was saying was, I want to go and try this new thing. And the voice in my head echoing over and over, people like you don't do this. People like you aren't creative. People like you don't know, like this isn't something that you should be spending your time on. This isn't worthwhile for someone like you. And I think that keeps us paralyzed So, I mean, outside of our careers, holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting you bring this up because I think this is what is so, this is why people hire me. And this is what's so challenging about the work is that it's an identity shift, 1,000,000%. Um, and I'll say to my clients, especially when I'm working with them, like before they even discover their business, or before they even launch their business, that, okay, well, you're now a business owner. Welcome. This is not who you've been. This is not how you see yourself. This is not who your friends and family are used to showing up. And the emotional piece of all of this, and whether it's something really big like starting a business or something that's smaller, like I'm now going to go join a chorus because maybe I want to be singing, or now I'm going to buy some paints because I feel this urge to paint, but I've never done that before. There's all this emotional stuff with it because it's that important and feels like that much of a big shift. And it's really difficult to navigate that on your own. And I think we really minimize it. Like, oh, this should just be, oh, it's just your whatever. It's just paint. Like, what are you making this a big deal? We're adults. And we've had X amount of years on the planet to get used to us being one way. And now all of a sudden we're proactively reinventing ourselves, and our caveman brains are like, what are you doing? This is weird. This isn't what I'm used to. This is totally unknown and therefore scary, and therefore I must protect you. I tell my clients too all the time that, especially when they're in that discovery phase of their dream business, what they expect is when they find the idea of all ideas that, the sun should shine through the clouds and the birds should sing, and they're going to feel like Snow White in the forest and dancing with the animals. And it's going to feel like that all the time. And if it doesn't feel like that, then it's not the right thing. And I always tell them in advance, do not expect that feeling. Very few people actually experience it that way. It's going to feel more like, oh, crap balls. I mean, I call my whole journey into figuring this out my like, oh, crap balls journey, my oh, crap balls moment, because this is the hard stuff. And this wasn't so like, oh my gosh, I'm so lit up thinking about it's going, oh yeah, this makes sense with all of these pieces of my life and my experience. And okay, I guess this big scary thing is what I want to do now. Oh, crapple. So I think that's all tied up together in there.
I would totally agree with that. What's interesting too, and I want to go back to your notion of identity. Holy cow. Is that one a big one?
It's
and
it.
I'll share a personal story, and then I'm curious about how you work with your clients to get over it, because this was big for me. If you would have told me when I got out of graduate school, if you would have said, hey, April, guess what? In fewer years than you can possibly imagine, you are going to be outside the realm of a normal job. First of all, I would have laughed in your face right there. But then number two, not only will you be outside the realm of a normal job, but your streams of income will come from multiple places that most of which you have no experience with today and are diametrically opposed to one another. Like, they are so different from one another, and that will be what your income is, but it will come from multiple places. I would have laughed in your face. And part of the thing is that because of that, the reason why that would have been so hysterical at the time is because that was so not my identity. So then when I left a normal job or just failed to go back to one, I experienced in the first like maybe 6 months was okay, because I think maybe my mind hadn't caught on that like, no, for real, this is like what we do now. I think it thought it was like a temp thing, and maybe we were on vacation or something. But once it set in that, no, this is what we're actually going to do now, there was this crisis moment, like psychologically this crisis moment, because what I realized, and this did not happen in that moment, this happened after lots of reflection, but what I realized was my personal value, where I derived my personal value, or where I used to, was from my title. I am the title of department
Yeah.
at company.
Yeah.
And I could easily rattle off that sentence. And now that I couldn't do that, it was like, I'm no one. Like, I have no identity. And so the shedding of that important part, the part where I derived all of my value, the shedding of that identity required me to build a new identity. And that was not easy. So I'm curious. And that's why I never know what anybody who's listening to this is going through. So I'm always willing to air my dirty laundry just in case an example helps. But I would love to hear how you help people think through that and do that work, because man, it is not easy. So for people out there who are like, I got you, like we got you, it's not easy.
Yeah. Well, it's so fun. And I love this because I have a similar-ish story when I decided, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, I want to be a career coach for creative people. And for me, the best way to do that was get my life coaching certification, which back in 2007 was not like it is now. And there was still, and there's still a little bit of the stigma, but it's less so. There's still this stigma of like, I'm a dirty hippie. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to get my life coaching certification. And that means that I'm going to read your aura and like I braid my leg hair and all of this stuff, which it's hilarious because I'm literally holding a crystal while I'm talking to you. I've turned into this person in some way. And I don't mean to cause any offense to women who don't shave their legs or whatever. Like it's all more like great, but it was not my identity. You know what I mean? And I was very concerned with how people would perceive me, where I had a bit of a different history in terms of, pursuing acting. My day jobs, I just went from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And the job that I was at when I decided to do all of this crazy stuff and get my certification, have my own business, was one that like I wasn't at for very long. So I had I had my friends and family members say things like, so what are you doing now? I had that kind of like, oh, they think I'm flaky. They think I'm flaky, or they like think, which is just so not how I want to present myself either. And now they're going to think like, oh, I'm this person who's going to, read their crystals or whatever. So for me, I was very rebellious, I guess, against even saying like, I'm going to get my certification as a life coach. I think it stopped me for quite a few weeks or months of like, well, that's not who I am, so I can't do that. And what are people going to think and blah, blah, blah. And I finally just took a deep breath and said, who cares? This is what works for me. This is what I want to do. I had the support of my boyfriend at the time, who I lived with, who's now my husband. And it was very clear to me how I was going to use it. But I stopped myself from really calling myself a life coach. And I still do, because that never felt like the right title for me. So immediately it was, I'm a career coach who has her life coaching certification. But my clients, deal with this all the time. And the one that I was just telling you about, who I spoke to yesterday, was like, oh, I'm not professionally qualified and I don't, blah, 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 even though she could deliver exactly what she wants to offer like tomorrow. I said to her in a hashtag sorry, not sorry way, I see you as this title, and this title. And I know that these three things are going to be the foundation of your business. And I know it is really hard for you to see and admit and accept, because you don't feel yet that you're any of these titles. But I want you to know that you already are. And I see that in you and for you. And unless you tell me differently, that these titles don't interest you, or this is not what you're looking to work on, then we could try to find something else. But what do you think about these titles? And she goes, oh my gosh, that's just my dream. So, it's a hard road to start owning something that, even if you've been doing it your whole life as a hobby or something you do for your friends, and I always tell my clients, pay attention to the things that you're discounting, for yourself because you do it so well and it comes so easily to you that it must not be important or it must be something everyone could do. No, 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 no. But it's time to start owning that for yourself and suspending that disbelief even just for a bit to say, yeah, okay, this is who I am. How would I act if this is who I am? What would I do if I believed this is who I am? And I think the right people think it's really cool if you say, oh, well, I'm a, data scientist at this company, but I'm also a podcast host and life coach or whatever. The right people are going to go like, that's really neat. That's so cool. You do all those things. And the people that just go, are like not your people and let them walk away. And great. You just spared yourself probably an annoying conversation.
Totally. I totally agree. It's so interesting because, the concept of, and I'm hammering on this, but it's just so stinking important. The concept of identity, you can feel the resistance, and the direction I'm going is back to something you just said around like, if I become a life coach, people are going to assume all these things about me. They're going to assume I'm a hippie. They're going to assume whatever. And like so much of our identity is formed by the weight of society and their expectations for us.
Yeah.
And so when we feel that friction, you personally may have I don't care about people who would identify themselves as a hippie and like whatever the qualities come with that. I personally don't care, but I know that my close circle or society close to me would judge me for that. And so I'm afraid, right? Like it's such a crazy nuance because we do just get so afraid of stepping outside of that really comfortably formed groove that we've created because of the weight of everyone else's judgments and expectations of us. But here's the crazy kicker though. And what I love about something you just said, I'd say it a little bit different with people. I say like, why don't we just allow yourself to flirt with that idea for a little bit? I'm not asking you to marry it. Not at all. I just want you to flirt with it from time to time. I want you to cheat on your normal life, not like spouses. That's not what I'm talking about. I want you to cheat on your life, even like just have like a little emotional affair with this new idea or this new thing. Yeah. Because the thing is, the reason why it feels uncomfortable and the reason why it doesn't feel like something people like you would do is that you just haven't done it yet. So the more you can expose yourself to it, the more you can sort of flirt with it, the closer you can get to it without making it so scary that, you shut down and you don't want to do it anymore. The more you can sort of warm yourself up to that idea, the less scary it gets because all of a sudden it just feels familiar. It's that whole frog in the boiling water thing. Like you just slowly turn the temperature up and pretty soon you're going to be like, woo, give me the crystal. Woo, I want to go to a meditation circle. Like, yay, this is great. And you don't care anymore. But it's like the warming up process. There's ways that you can do that to get experience where it just doesn't feel so scary anymore,
Yes. Continue to preach it, girl. Continue to preach it. Yeah. And I am annoying and hopefully the best way possible that if you come to me to work on discovering your dream business, I'm going to make you find a guinea pig and charge them and put an offer together and deliver on it while we're together. Because to me, it's not, we could do worksheets and journaling and meditation and blah, 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 till the cows come home. But until you actively do something, and then you're not getting the information that you need. You just can't. It's just impossible. And I think that the women that come to me, they want the black and white. They want things on paper that are like, yep, this makes sense because of X, Y, Z, but there's also a real emotional piece to it. And they want to feel deep down like, oh, this is the thing that makes me feel valued. These are the people that I want to work with, or this is what I want to offer. This is what I want to be working on. And they have to figure that out. And all sorts of things show up when they're about to get their guinea pig client, or they get their guinea pig client, or they're wrapping up with their guinea pig client. all those pieces, I hear, oh, but I was so excited about this last week and now this week it's not as exciting, or this and that. Or like, if I pick this one offer, does that mean that's going to be my business? And blah. No, it just means it's the one stickiest thing that either has been the idea that's been around the longest and it's time to just execute in some way so you could get some information, or it's the thing that, I'm all about that feeling of like scary and excitement. And I make my clients kind of rate their business ideas based on the scary excitementometer, because the higher it is, the more I pay attention in terms of like what is going to light you up. Because if it's not, then why are we here? I'm not here to build a business for anyone that they're going to feel like mediocre about. Totally not the point. But they're afraid they're going to be like trapped in this one thing. I go, no. This is just an experiment. This is just to get experience. And this might be something like, I'll just keep talking about the client that I've been talking about. Her offer, she knows, is something that she's probably going to do down the road in her business because it fits under like the bigger theme and the bigger umbrella that we found for her business. But she realized this isn't where I want my business to start. What came up to me while I worked on this offer was that I wish I did this thing instead. And like, that's going to be the starting offer of her business.
That's valuable.
But without it, we would have no idea. And we would have built this business that like, then she showed up to and went, oh, but I don't, okay, I guess I'm stuck. And then she wouldn't know where to take it. And so, it's so important to just make a decision. And I work fast with my clients and I'm like, you are here to practice and perfect and done. If you come to me to launch your business, we're doing it in a 90-day window because we are here to practice imperfect and done. And you just have to keep moving forward and keep making decisions. And things are going to evolve in the best way possible. And if they don't, then you're not a business owner who's paying attention and you probably won't be in business very long.
Totally. I'm curious about, I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk to the people who, there's lots of people who are in 9-to-5 jobs and maybe they want to leave them, maybe they want to stay there, I don't know, but they've got a passion outside of it. And I'll use a personal anecdote. This podcast was that. Yeah. Now, granted, I was already an entrepreneur at the time, but I was doing data science work 9-to-5, very normal looking, but independent. So it's as close to a normal 9-to-5 job as you can get without it technically being that. The podcast was literally just a side passion project that, for all of those same reasons, was difficult for me to get off the ground, and it didn't even involve money. Right, it just involved doing something new and trying to find a way to like fit it into my life. I'm wondering if you can talk to the people who are in 9-to-5 jobs who have, maybe it's a side hustle, maybe they want to leave their 9-to-5 job, maybe it's just a passion project that they want to pursue. Like, how do you how do you move forward and go after that side thing, whatever it is? Because I think a lot of what we're talking about applies.
Yeah. It's a really good question. And I was in my 9-to-6 for 2 years and 7 months while I got certified and built my business enough so that I felt comfortable taking the leap and quitting in the middle of a recession, which wound up being a great idea. So yay for that. It is about priorities. It is about looking at your commitments and choosing what you now need to say no to in order to say yes to the other thing that you want for yourself. It's about having very open conversations with your family or whoever your support system is or whoever you live with to say, here's the time that I need. Where could we find it? It's working together for that. It's also figuring out what works for you in terms of when you could show up for this work. And this, if someone could find the cure-all that works for everyone, then like, please do, you will be a trillionaire. But I think especially because I work with such creative women, we do not have the same time management system that we could all use that works for everyone. We do not have the same project management system. I've had clients that have come to me and said, Michelle, I cannot work on my business when I am working Monday to Friday. Like I can't find a lunch hour. I can't, when I come home, I am toast. Like this is not good for me. But I usually don't have plans. And this is an example from a client I worked with years ago, who was single and lived in New York City. And she's like, I usually don't make plans with my friends on the weekend until at least brunch time. It's usually after 12 o'clock. And I usually wake up between 7 and 8. So I think what I'm going to try for the next few weeks is to put work time on my calendar from 8 to 10 or 8 to 11, both weekend days. And that's when I'm going to do my work. And that worked so well for her. And she wound up working on our business, I think, at least 4 hours every week, which is not chump change. And she was able to do it in a way that she really enjoyed. She liked waking up and getting her coffee and getting her breakfast. She's like, oh, I have this little breakfast table by the window and it overlooks the church across the street. And I'm done by 10:30 and I could like go about my day knowing I got my work done. Other people I have a client right now who's incredible. She just moved. She has been like living in a hotel room with her husband and her 2 kids, who I think are both under 6 or 5, like for a couple of months now. And she told me that she wakes up at like 5 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, goes to the gym, runs for a couple miles, comes back to the hotel room, gets dressed, and goes out to a coffee shop to write for an hour because she's writing a novel as well as being a business owner, but she's prioritizing her novel right now. And then she comes back to the hotel room and oh no, she goes right from the coffee shop to work, to her new job, and leaves at whatever, 5 or 6 o'clock. And then she's done for the day. And she's able to work a few hours on the weekend too, because she arranged things with her husband that on Saturday mornings or whatever, she's able to go and do her work. Amen and hallelujah. I'm not a 4:30 in the morning person, but like that works for her really well. So I think it's all about figuring out what are the pockets of time. I try to have my clients recognize the times that they can make habits as best they can. There's one story I tell all the time about a client who figured out after dinner, she does the dishes with her husband and then they watch TV. And a lot of the time she's watching shows she doesn't even care about. And so she said, you know what, after doing the dishes, I'm going to tell my husband, like, I'm going to go into my studio and do my work. And she was supposed to go in her studio and set a timer for 45 minutes because that has scientifically been proven to allow you to be enough time to advance on whatever you're doing, but not so much time that it like tricks your brain into actually doing it because it doesn't feel like it's a long amount of time. Oh, it's just 45 minutes. I could do it. Go into her studio, set the timer for 45 minutes. And when the timer goes off, she has full right to just walk away. I'm done. But if she's in flow or she wants to continue, then she sets it for another 45 minutes. And she was able to recognize, okay, this is the pocket of time that's going to work for me. And after a few weeks, she wound up saying to me, Michelle, I found myself in my studio the other night and I don't even remember how I got there because it was just automatic. That to me is like gold. That's what we want to find with everybody.
Amazing. And 45 minutes, I mean, if you have 45 minutes of time to focus, it is incredible what you can get done in that amount of time. It's insane.
Yes. It's Parkinson's Law. The amount of time something takes expands or contracts based on how much time you have for it. So 1,000,000% in 45 minutes, you need to write a new about page. You could do it in 45 minutes.
Totally agree.
But if you have a day to write it, it's going to take you a day. So you're going to be really surprised at the progress you make. And something like 45 minutes a day winds up being like 4 or 5-ish hours a week, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's not chump change. So you're able to make progress. And I always feel that baby steps build the strongest foundation anyway. So if anyone's waiting for like a 3-hour block of time to fall from the sky for you to work on your side business or your whatever, it's not coming.
Right.
Like, don't look for it. It's not happening.
Totally. So personally for you, what's coming up next for you?
I'm really excited. I have revamped my Discover Your Dream Business program. so that I could launch it towards the end of April with it being on demand. So you could take it when you're ready while having a lower price point and still having a live component so that you have access to me. So I'm working behind the scenes on that, and that is super exciting. And then personally, I have a 4.5-year-old that's going to kindergarten.
Oh my God, that just don't even start, because I'll just start crying because I have a 3-year-old and I'm not ready.
Yeah, no, I see school buses and I just start crying. I'm really bad, but my town's amazing, and they have 6 different elementary schools that the parents prioritize, which schools they want there. This is my first choice, this is my second choice, my third choice, and you put it in, and in June we find out what school she gets. So personally, I am like inundated with school tours right now and trying to figure out what we're ranking number 1 for the kid. And that's just kind of an exciting thing. So those 2 things are happening.
I love that. Well, congrats on both of them. And also my heart goes out to you on the kindergarten when I'm right with you.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's just, what did they say? The years are short, but the days are long. And I feel like that is not truer than when you have a kid.
Oh, it's so true. It is so true. Oh my gosh, this has been just wonderful. And I have so loved getting to know you and hearing about your business and the work that you've been doing. Where can people find you and find out more about your new program coming up?
Yeah. So go to whenigrowupcoach.com. That's where I live. You'll find my links to social media too. I'm really active on Instagram, and I am really active in my private Facebook group, which you will get access to if you opt into any of my offers that you see there. And you could check a box depending on your dream business challenge, and you'll get information that pertains directly to whether you need help discovering, launching, or building your dream business. But if that Discover Your Dream Business program excites you and you want to check it out, you could go right to whenigrowupcoach.com/discover and put your information in to get first dibs and early bird pricing if the offer's not up there already.
I love that. And what I think is cool about that program, and just thinking broadly about what a person could do with something like that, sometimes we touched on this before. You may or may not be the type of person who's like, yes, I want to go fully into the deep end of the pool and be an entrepreneur. Or you may be the type of person who is in a job that you've been in for a long time. You're feeling kind of like, I go in every day, I do the same stuff, see the same people, whatever. And what I think is interesting about this type of program and the way that you've described it is that it would be such an interesting self-exploration tool. Like, again, a way to flirt with what your life would look like and what a business could look like. No one's forcing you to do it. No one's saying you have to. But like, it's really fun to have the audacity to flirt with what that might look like. And you have no idea how powerful your brain is when you start to feed it ideas and notions like that really get you excited. So even for people who like aren't fully ready to just, tell their boss to shove it and walk out of their job and whatever, even for those people who aren't at all ready or don't think they ever will be, it's so fun to use it for self-exploration and just see what happens. You never know.
One of my clients told me that starting a business and then working in her business was the biggest self-discovery and self-improvement tool ever.
I believe that.
Yes, if you are someone that is, kind of that self-help junkie, or you're looking for kind of a new, fresh way for self-improvement, this course will not make you quit your job at any point in time. It will give you help if you're looking to do that eventually. We'll talk about it, and I'm here to help. But that's a big reason why I wanted to make this class on demand, and I wanted to lower the price because I just wanted to make it really accessible. And who knows what you'll uncover.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really exciting process, and I won't lie, it is totally intense, and you will work with a guinea pig client or customer, and like you will make yourself uncomfortable. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but I'm here to guide you and help you and support you and cheer you on and offer over a decade of my wisdom and the experience I have doing this for myself and doing this with thousands of other women. And I'm here to help you the whole way.
So incredible. Michelle, this has been amazing. I'm so excited that we were able to make this work, that we were able to hop on and have this amazing conversation today. Just thank you so much for everything that you've given us today. This has been great.
Ditto and ditto and ditto. It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, April.
And there you have it, everybody. My amazing interview with Michelle Ward. Of course, there are things that I want to hit, and you probably know where I'm going to go. But there were 3 things that were just so powerful and so valuable that we talked about on this interview. And I want to make sure that I hit all 3 of them. Number 1, this notion that you need to be quote unquote qualified to do something before you can even attempt it. Oh my God, does that hold people back? I can't describe how many people I have talked to, both in the work that I do and just friends and family members who desperately want to try something, know that it is what they would love to do, but they feel like they have to have all these qualifications in place before they can even start. I hope you listened to that part of the interview where we talked about it's not possible. It isn't possible to have a qualification for everything that you might want to do, especially in this day and age when things are they're so much more complicated than they were before. You can't possibly have formal qualifications for everything. And even in spaces where there are formal qualifications, you don't need them to move into those spaces. Now, again, yes, lawyer and doctor and other things like that, yes, you need formal qualification. But to begin helping people, to decide that you're a writer and that you want to write a book, you do not have to go back to school and get a degree in literature to start writing a book. You don't. Or get a fine arts degree to start writing a book. You don't. Just start writing. And the thing is that notion of being unqualified, it fizzles quickly when you start getting experience, because that experience makes you qualified. Think about job interviews, right? And your resume. There's a number of things that employers look at. They do look at your degree. Sure. Did this person go to college? Do they have a degree? But they also look at how much experience, how many years of experience has this person had in that field? And those years of experience count for something because they are qualifying. And the only way to get experience is to get experience. Is to go do it. So don't worry so much about whether you're qualified. Go get some experience and start flirting with this new area that you want to move into. And that quickly hits us on number 2 that I want to talk about, and that is this identity shift around who you are now and what quote unquote people like you do and don't do and should do and shouldn't do and are comfortable doing, and the value you have and what comes easy to you and what doesn't, and what you're good at and what you're not good at. All of those things are literally just beliefs that you have about yourself. I could do a whole episode on this. In fact, I should. But in making yourself quote unquote qualified to do this work, meaning through the process of getting yourself experience, wading into the pool by taking one client and then maybe another client, or offering something for free or at a slightly lower price point than you would normally offer if you had more experience. By doing that, your brain will catch on. Oh, well, I used to think that people like me didn't do this, but obviously I'm me and I am doing it, so I better adapt. Your brain is not that sophisticated in the sense that it doesn't catch on to the little trick that you're playing, that you're doing this in order to make an identity shift, but it is very adaptive, meaning it's going to catch on to the shift and it's going to adapt and start working in your favor. So this identity shift, it's important because it becomes the limiter that we put on ourselves about what we believe that we can do. And it's important, and I'm so glad we spent so much time on it today, because it's like the landmine that people don't realize they're going to run into. People run out into entrepreneurship and they think, I need a website. That's a landmine. That's hard. That's something that's going to blow up. I need to figure that out. They see it coming. I need to figure out how to register myself as an LLC and get a tax ID number. That's a thing. That's a barrier I need to figure out. Wow, that's something I need to do. I need to figure out accounting software and how to invoice people, how to clock my time, how to do taxes. Like, these are all tactical things, by the way, that Google is extremely good at in helping you figure out. Those are all tactical things that you see coming. What you don't see coming, and what happens to so many people and holds them back, what you don't see coming is the incongruence between what your identity was and what it needs to be the person to do the new thing that you want to do. And that's where people start getting tripped up. So I'm so glad we spent so much time talking about that subject with Michelle, because it's so important and it comes out of nowhere for people. So don't let that happen to you. Don't let it come out of nowhere for you. And then the last thing that I want to hit is this notion of a side passion. Not everything has to be a side hustle and make money. But even if it does, if you are in the camp of people who want to quit your job and you want to build a business, this applies to you. If you are in the camp of people who do not want to quit your 9-to-5 job, but you just want to build a secondary line of income, this applies to you. And if you are in that camp of people who wants to stay in their job, but just wants to try a new hobby, this applies to you. Starting to figure out what that might look like in the context of your life and how you want it to look and feel, how you want it to fit into your day-to-day life, and then going right back to that identity piece that we just talked about, how that's going to start to align around this identity that you used to have and maybe have now versus the identity you need to have in order to truly step into the thing that you want to try doing. This applies to you. Just keep all that in mind. You don't have to be, this is all sort of coming together in one big amalgam right now, but you don't have to be qualified in order to get started. Getting started makes you qualified. Getting started helps that identity shift happen. And you can start to take on these things that you didn't think it was possible for you to do. And I would encourage you to take Michelle's course. Use it for, like I said, you don't have to use it to just create a business. You can use it as a self-exploration tool, as a way to, again, start to flirt with things that you might not be ready to marry just yet, but maybe you want to flirt with them and maybe you want to try them on for size and see how they feel. Because some of those things are the things that can be so impactful, and you never know what you're absolutely going to love, and you never know what you're going to be incredibly skilled at unless you give it a try. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview with Michelle Ward. I had such a good time talking to her and could have talked to her for another 2 hours, which is the case with so many of the women that I talk to because they're so stinking awesome. So I hope you guys had a great time with this interview. I hope you have an amazing week. I can't thank you enough for showing up here every single week. You have no idea how important that is to me and how much it means. I can't thank you guys enough. Have an amazing week, and I will see you back here next week with another interview.
Before we close out today, I want to say thank you to my producer, Cameron Hill, and to my incredible sponsor, Modern Well. If you want to learn more about how you can reach your goals in a one-of-a-kind work-life community, visit www.modernwell.co. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit from this inspiring message. And if you have a moment, click the link in the episode description to leave me a rating and a review on iTunes. It would mean so much to me. Finally, I want to remind you that it is absolutely possible to live a happy, fulfilling life, even in spite of all of the chaos and demands we all experience. Sign up at aprilseifert.com to gain access to tools that will help you do just that. I have carefully created and curated a set of tools that combine the powerful fields of psychology and design thinking to help you intentionally create a fulfilling, happy life you love. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and until next week, stay inspired.